Hello and welcome to MITV News Update at 6. I am Victor Daniels. The spokesperson for the 10th Senate, Senator Yemi Adaramodu, representing the Ekiti South, has urged Nigerians to see the proposed cash palliatives as part of the commitment to the government to care for the citizens, urging the spirit behind the token should be appreciated. Senator Adaramodu said the proposed 500 billion naira to be shared to poor Nigerians was just part of a regime of palliatives to ameliorate the effects of the subsidy removal. The monetary token, he said, is not intended to totally cure poverty, as it is a short-term project to cushion the effects of the subsidy removal, while the long-term goals for a lasting solution to address the major challenges of taking millions of Nigerians out of hardship were still being worked out, while assuring the National Assembly's commitment to effective oversight on the implementation of the disbursement of the cash gifts to the right persons. Adaramodu called the Nigerians to focus on the larger picture of the efforts of the government towards making life better for the citizens. Our correspondent, Folashade Abdullah Salami, further reports that federal lawmakers also declared the support of Senate on the plans of the federal government to channel proceeds from subsidy removal into developmental of agriculture and infrastructure.
I want Nigerians to give space for any government that says they want to do something. Let them start before we start kicking them left and right, blow them center and forward. So let us allow them. Okay, they have come to the National Assembly for the passage of 500 billion naira palliative to Nigerians, not to somebody like me, not to somebody like you, not to somebody who's employed, not to a teacher, even a teacher, not to a civil servant, not for somebody who's an employer of labor, not for somebody who's earning at least minimum wage. But so many people are not earning any wage, either minimum or maximum in Nigeria. No wage at all. So there's no way you give them that 8 or 10,000, or as the case may be, that they will not appreciate it if we do one or two things.
Meanwhile, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, has emphasized the 10th House commitment to the critical needs of the Nigerians by paying priority attention to the participatory budgeting process and delivery, law reform, electoral reform, women's participation and inclusion in governance. The Speaker has also promised that the 10th House is committed to improve socio-economic conditions, entrepreneurship, employment, health and education, infrastructures and citizens-focused diplomacy, institutional capacity and citizens' engagement, constitutional amendments and restructuring, among others. Abbas made the commitment at the stakeholders meeting on the 10th House of Representatives legislative agenda held in Abuja. According to him, there is no better way to show that the 10th House of Representatives is ready to respond and urgently to the yearnings of those who vote for them to do the people's business. He said that the event is meant to keep the 10th House resolved as representatives of the people regularly consult citizens in the discharge of the mandate given to them. In the meantime, following the sudden increase in the pump price of premium motor spirit, otherwise called petrol, to 617 naira per litre, civil servants in Lagos State have adopted the shift in operation across board to cushion the effects of the hike. This development came as some commuters resorted to trekking as a means of transportation due to hike in fares. Our correspondent Fatoki Kunle has this report. Seventh day into the latest increment in the pump price of petrol, and Nigerians have continued to groan under the hardship inflicted on them by the sudden hike. In Lagos, workers are not finding it easy coping with the situations, as findings by MITV news crew at the state government secretariat in Alausa, Ikeja revealed that the workers have resorted to a kind of shift service for 1 day on, 1 day off since the fuel subsidy removal and the latest petrol pump price. Consequently, most private vehicle owners in Lagos have decided to board public transportations to their offices and various destinations, with the gridlock often witnessed across the metropolis reduced drastically in recent times, as most of the roads witness free flow of traffic. Areas visited by MITV News include Ikotun, Idimu, Egbeda, Yanikbaja and Dokbemu axes, where commuters have continued to grow in view of the high transportation cost.
Government, they are not providing, and they are just increasing price, inflicting pain and suffering on Nigerian citizens. Because the way things are now, people are not prepared for all these things. Someone will just wake up early in the morning and notice that the price has increased. So these are just ridiculous. I don't understand this matter anymore. But we just pray that God should help us in all this mess that we are in now.
Some residents have been left with no choice but to resort to trekking as means of transportation due to hikes in fares, with many unable to afford the exorbitant fares at times when it rains or under scorching sun. Commercial buses are now recording a considerable drop in patronage as small commuters have taken to alternative commercial transportations like bus, rapid transit, BRT and trekking, particularly short-distance journeys.
The situation where is around now, the affair is costing. They affect a lot of people. They are trekking every day, every morning and night, because they are complaining about transport. The fare really costs too much.
Too much. Person no dey get money to enter motor. They like to use like go.
Trekking people trekking.
They're trekking too much. Because money no dey to enter.
Even traders of pepper, vegetable, fish, meat and oil, amongst others, to be transported to market for sale are finding the high transportation cost too much to bear.
The money for transport, all the markets don't cost too much. They say they don't open waiting be this wait then the carry rice come. Border. They say they don't open border. The rice don't increase. It's too much, everything, too cost.
As residents of Lagos continue to adapt to the recent reality of hike in the pump price of petrol and its attendant effect on them, they are eagerly awaiting the federal government to ameliorate the situations to cushion the fuel price. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Mahmood Yakub, has said that the commission did not receive any direct funding or cash support. From Professor Yakub said the clarification became necessary to correct the impression that the commission received funding support from development partners for the 2023 general elections. The INEC boss spoke on Monday at a meeting with civil society organization CSOs in Abuja as part of the Commission's post-election review. The INEC chairman further stated that it was the Commission's policy not to receive direct funding or cash transfers from sources other than the federal government. Professor Yakub, however, disclosed that the support received from international partners came in form of technical advice, civic and voter education, organizations of meetings and capacity building workshops, as well as the publications of documents. A non-governmental organization has echoed the need to intensify advocacy and awareness on curbing chronic terminal disease, particularly among the less privileged and community dwellers. The NGO, under the auspices of Feed the Vulnerable Families in Nigeria Foundation, identified these needs in Osogbo, Osun State capital, during a sensitization walk organized to create awareness on the dangers of kidney disease and oral cancers. During the sensitization, which took place across strategic areas of the capital city, the group enlightened residents on how to identify symptoms of the chronic ailment and steps to take to prevent it from escalating in the body system. The NGO admonished those already suffering from the disease to avoid self-medication, just as it canvassed regular medical checkup for any individual who discovers bodily strange signs for early discovery and prevention of diseases. The group also solicited government's partnership to broaden the scope of its sensitization activities on preventing and curbing chronic diseases.
We saw that there have been a lot of people coming online posting about chronic kidney diseases. So we wanted to create awareness on key points or signs to look out for when you have these diseases, because early detection can play a wrong role in easy prognosis. So we are trying to let people know that when this thing is happening to me, it calls for attention. And you don't need for this thing to happen to you to go to the clinic for checkup. And we Nigerians, we've seen that we are bad with that. If we are not on our deathbed or dying, we don't go to the hospital, which shouldn't be.
The motive behind this work for hope is to create awareness for chronic kidney diseases and oral cancer, because they are both killer diseases and people don't know, or people come for checkup at the late stage or end stage, which is very wrong. We need to let people know that coming early to the hospital helps improve life quality.
If there's anything wrong with you that you don't know, that sounds strange, please do not keep quiet. Reach out to people, walk into hospitals. We have the teaching hospitals, the states, and the local government public health center. Ask them questions, tell them how you feel, and I'm pretty sure they will be ready to help you.
At the part of government, we appreciate if you can get state, federal, and local government partnership. And the last year anniversary, we had it in Lagos, and we actually preached for this, that the foundations can't do it alone, and we actually need the support of the government.
8 persons have been confirmed dead while scooping fuel after a petrol-laden tanker fell and spilled its content along the Ore-Benin Expressway, Ore-Inodibo local government area of Ondo State. While many were reported to have died from the incident, the sector commander of the Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC in Ondo State, Ezekiel Son Allah, on Monday said 8 persons were burnt to death following the explosion. He said the white fuel tanker with no registration number lost control due to overspeeding. Son Allah noted that following the development, some residents of the close-by village stormed the scene and started scooping fuel spilled from the fallen tanker. According to him, unfortunately, the tanker exploded and burning 8 persons who were scooping fuel to death. Islamic cleric Sheikh Imran Abdul Majid Eleha has admonished Nigerians on patience and continuous prayers for the new administration despite the current economic situations in the country. The Islamic cleric gave the admonition in the Lagos State by the humanitarian group Tawunu addressing journalists. He said that the prayers and patience should be considered as the new administration's barely 2 months in office, adding that such tactics would soon lead the country to a steady state. Meanwhile, the coordinator of Tauni Kajet and Kushofel local government, Taiwo Lassis, urged the youths to emulate humanitarian services by the do.
It's basically to recognizing as one of the Islamic scholar in the southwestern Nigeria, Yoruba land here, and at the same time, it is done to recognize his humanitarian services. The youths, especially in Yoruba land, they should emulate what the 2 friends of today are doing. The founder of this an college and the founder of Ataun, who runs humanitarian projects in Yoruba land. Let them emulate them in helping other citizens as well.
And that's it on local news. Let's take a short break. When we'll come back, we'll take some stories from foreign scenes.
Our boss was like, a decent fashion designer only gets home at midnight.
Midway.
Osimhen. Papa just the chop Italian league like Oha.
These are real housewives of Abuja. Those women are fire. What does OJ say again? My relationship with money is Alhamdulillah.
No one tells a story like we do. Showmax, Africa's original streaming service.
Welcome back. In foreign stories, a day after at least 33 people died when a building collapsed in Cameroon business hub Douala, neighbors record on Monday the structures falling and cracks fearing more bodies lie under the ruins. The four-story block of flats collapsed onto another residential building in north of the city overnight on Saturday to Sunday, one of the worst such tragedies in the country's history. It left 33 people dead and 21 injured, 5 in critical condition, a senior fire officer and the regional governor told the AFP on Monday, warning that the toll could rise. Rescuers were still trying to clear the rubble with a digger after seeking survivors throughout on Sunday and into Monday. Thousands more residents and tourists on two Greek islands were fleeing to safety on Monday as a wildfire fueled by high winds and unrelenting pattern of brutal heat waves consumed homes, hotels and businesses in the peak tourism season. Greek Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis warned that this country has more difficult days ahead of its estimated that 32,000 precautionary evacuations were carried out over the weekend on the island of Rhodes and Corfu. On Rhodes, tourists are fleeing from the path of week-long fire that rolled down from the mountains into the several coastal areas. Evacuations spread to the island of Corfu, where 2,000 were ordered out on Monday as fire raged in the northeast end of the island but had not reached residents. The ferry had 40 passengers on board when it sank approximately midnight on Monday, and authority is searching for 19 people who remained missing. Indonesia's National Search and Rescue Agency said on Monday that 6 passengers were rescued and are being treated in hospital. It was not clear how many people were on board, as it is not uncommon to Indonesia for the actual number of passengers on the boats to differ from the manifest. Head of the local search and rescue agency in Kendari City in southeast Sulawesi, Muhammad Arafah, said in a statement that the search will be conducted by dividing into 2 teams. Russia has accused Ukraine of being behind a drone attack that damaged at least 2 buildings in the capital Moscow early on Monday morning. The Russian Defense Ministry said that 2 drones were suppressed and crashed, adding that there were no casualties, as Russia's state-owned TASS news agencies reported that 1 drone fell close to the Defense Ministry. Ukrainian officials are yet to comment, but they rarely claim responsibilities for attacks inside Russia. In a separate development, Russian installed officials ordered people to evacuate 1 district of Crimea, the Ukrainian southern peninsula annexed by Moscow in 2014 after a reported overnight Ukrainian drone attack. Coming up right after this in sports. And welcome back. In sports, African teams are yet to make their at the ongoing FIFA Women World Cup, as they have recorded any win in the first round matches of the competition, with Morocco on Monday lost to a thumping 6-0 thrashing by a 2-time champions Germany. The Moroccan ladies failed to woefully to give a good account of themselves as Germany launched their title bid in style. in and recorded the biggest win of the tournament in Australia and New Zealand. Second half substitute Alexander Pope scored twice, and 32-year-old skipper Pope, they have one of the best goal scorer around. She took full advantage of some poor Moroccan defending with simple close-range finishes. Clara Bull made it 3 straight out of half-time to end the match as any kind of contest before 2 own goals and a late 6th from Le Scruller. In another game, Ari Borges hits the first hat-trick of his Women's World Cup as Brazil crushed debutants Panama 4-0 in a scintillating opening to their campaign on Monday. The 23-year-old attacking midfielder, who plays for Racing Louisville in the United States, was undoubtedly star of the show, scoring 3 and setting up the other in a stylish victory in Adelaide sent Brazil top of the Group F after Jamaica surprisingly held France 0-0 on Sunday. A constant threat coming in off the right, she pounced twice from a close range in the first half to leave the Brazil in total control at the break, and Panama, playing in the World Cup for the first time, never looked like getting back in it. Goal in the opening 10th minute and the pressure told in the 19th minute when Borges nodded in unmarked at the back post for a simple close-range header. All right, and on elsewhere, Cristiano Guarelli said she would be happy to keep playing at the role of a super sub after scoring an 87th minute winner as Italy beat Argentina 1-0 in a fierce encounter at the Women's World Cup on Monday. It looked like Italy would have to settle for a draw in the Group G opener at Eden Park after Ariana Caruso and Valentina Giacinti both had goals disallowed in the first half. But Guarelli came on for 16-year-old Giulia Dragoni near the end and needed just 4 minutes to make her mark with a superb header. Italy then held on for victory in a game that featured 6 bookings, 4 for Argentina and 37 fouls. Argentina coach German Portanova felt the result was harsh on his side, who have still never won at a World Cup. And that's it on MITV News at 6. Stay tuned for more on Primetime News. I am Victor Daniels.